Good evening, Hondo Nation. Welcome to the weekly Wednesday Coach Templin Show. I'm Jeff Jennings. Before introducing Coach and jumping waist deep into football talk, we got a lot of it. I just want to give you guys a rundown of what we're going to cover this evening. With fall camp in our rear view, a few days away from opening kickoff, we got a lot of red meat for you fans. We're going to talk about our roster, top to bottom by position area, who will be leading each group as of now, and who's poised to contribute to those areas overall. We'll also address the word of the season, new, and make no mistake about it, the word for the season is new, Coach. The Owls have new head coach, new district, or I guess what's old is new again as we return to 3A classification we earned in the offseason. New defense. You, Coach Temple, revamping your own defense from a 3-4 to a 3-3. Still an odd front, but I'll let you explain that a little deeper later. New faces on the coaching staff. A lot of new faces in prominent spots in the roster, namely quarterback, and we'll cover it all in our positional roster breakdown, which we're going to get really deep into tonight. Speaking of new, even me, as a broadcast booth gets a new painted coat. And before I start this, I'm not mentioning for me, but just I can't go on without another big tip of the hat to Bobby Ainsley, who's carried this for about 25 plus years. What he's meant to me personally through the years as a teacher, mentor, a friend, an ear to bend. Just a man who brought his undeniable personality, energy to the Owls broadcast for all those years. Huge proponent, not just Owl football, but all sports, extracurricular, from band, ag. He's just been all Hondo, and can't say enough about the guy. And while I'm excited to throw on the headset Friday night, a big part of me is going to be a little bit bummed out because he's been in my headphones for a long time. I used to tune in when I was in Bryan College Station for 20 years. I'd tune in, and it was that one voice that kind of connected me back home. So anyways, Bobby, we appreciate you, and it's gonna be hard to segue off of that. So I tell you what, let me hit our sponsors who so generously helping out this program, and HABA, Medina Electric Co-op, powering members, empowering communities, SAT Learning Center, Daycare Center for Children, infant to 10 years, reserve your child spot today. Mummies, your wildlife headquarters. Downtown Dental, hometown dentist Stacy Jacobs. To many Owls and families, they'd love to see your smiling faces. C&W Fuels Inc., your local fuel and propane distributor. Hondo Anvil Herald, stay up to date each week with the award-winning Hondo Anvil Herald, Medina County's newspaper since 1886. Owned by Jeff Berger, who I have to give him a tip of the hat later too. A guy that doesn't get enough credit what he's done for this program. Medina Regional Hospital, providing quality care close to home. Reese Grain, local grain elevator, providing bulk and sack feed. Wishes all the Owls best of luck this season. Texan Bank, team up together with Texan Bank. Cross Connection Radio Shack, go see Michelle and Stacy for all your electronic or cell phone needs. And personal note, they definitely help us out. They're the one provide our hotspot to make this broadcast and our broadcast of all the games possible. And finally, Herman Son Steakhouse, 75 plus years in business, all that family owned. Impressive business there. All right, Coach. Well, just want to say first off, welcome. We've met in person, but officially just need to welcome you as the head coach, AD of Hondo Owl football. Just want to ask, yes, sir. Can you speak to your new role as HC? Maybe we can go as deep as you want tonight, or maybe we can touch it later. But just kind of your journey here, just your philosophy on football program in general.
Man, okay, I'll try to keep that brief. That we can talk for all day on that for sure. So I've been here 2 years. I came in 2020, came as a defensive coordinator. My previous stop, most recent one was at Port Neches Groves, pretty much due east of us, all the way almost till you get to Louisiana there. But man, I tell you what, I had heard about Hondo pretty much my entire life. Actually, one of my mom's really good friends lives here in town. I grew up in Hondo, and she has a couple of kids that are my age, and grew up with them, heard about Hondo, what a great place it was. And when I got the opportunity to come here, man, I jumped at it. I have a wife and two kids, and this is moving back closer to where I grew up, and it was an opportunity to be a part of a great program with a storied tradition. So I jumped at it 2 years ago, and obviously the athletic director, head football coach job came back open I guess it was mid-March or so last year, and I jumped at that opportunity as well to be able to stay around and be around such great people, a great community. I wasn't wasn't going to pass that up. You know, I was going to take advantage and try to stick around for as long as I can here. So luckily, I was able to convince people to let me stick around for a little while longer. And so, you know, just as say change, you know, I think there's a little bit of change, but there really hasn't been a lot. I think that's one of the big things that I'm kind of able to bring to the table, and we can get into it a little later on if you want. But I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. You know, philosophy wise, not a whole lot it has changed. We are here to help these kids and to help grow them into great young men and women that are going to be positive impacts on this community here in Hondo. And I think that's one of the great things about Hondo is people stay around a lot, people leave and then they come back, you know. So we want to make sure that when people leave our program, when our kids leave the program, that hey, those are going to be the ones that are a part of this community, that are running the banks and the HEBs and everything else in town. And so that's definitely our number one priority. But we do that through athletics, obviously, right? And so it hasn't been a huge difference, I don't think, just with a few small things in there. And as you talked about, we'll get into offense and defense whenever you're ready. You let me know. But there's a couple of little tweaks here and there, but not a whole lot of big changes for sure.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Just some moves you made, and I'll get into that in a minute. In a few points down, talking on new coaches brought in, but keeping that continuity after the program and Coach Dale Carey went his way, but keeping that continuity is difficult to do. I like I was just before this even happened, just admiring the moves you'd made from the side. So
thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so the next new thing, new district. So yeah, I grew up. It was 3A a couple years ago. Bopped over to 4A, and here we are back in 3A. Just could you speak to advantages, challenges, just your thoughts in general of that move?
Yeah, actually, you talked about Jeff Berger a minute ago. He informed me. I did not know that everyone in our district has been in Hondo's district at some point. So whether or not we drop down to 3A doesn't matter. At some point in the history of Hondo, everybody that we're playing now in district has always been there or has been there at some point. So that's interesting. That's Jeff's always really good for those history tidbits.
Yes,
for sure. As far as the move goes, I can probably tell you more later on as we get on the season, but right now we've got some film that we're watching and things. Not much has changed. Really, just enrollment. The other schools have a little bit less than those schools that we were playing. I think the biggest advantage really that we'll get or could get at least is in the playoffs. We don't have to go play the Rockport Fultons. We don't have to go play the Wimberleys in the playoffs with teams that have almost double the enrollment that we do.
Yes, sir.
And that's not just football. That's really big for all our other sports as well, especially because football they split Division I, Division II, right? And the other sports don't. Baseball, softball, volleyball. I mean, you name it. So they were really playing schools that were a whole lot bigger.
Wow. Okay.
So now we won't be doing that. So that'll be good. But the level of competition, honestly, has not changed much. This is the state of Texas, right? And coaching and sports is big. I don't care what sport you're talking about. It's big. And so it's important everywhere you go. And every team we play is well coached and they've got good players. So that part hasn't changed a whole lot. It's really just more about the enrollment and being a little bit more on par with some of the teams that we'll be playing.
Great. New coaches, again, I mentioned just a second ago, new offensive coordinator, Coach Bird. Mm-hmm. We talked this summer when I first met you, and so he's going to keep that offensive system pretty much the same. I'm sure like every other coach, you got your own fingerprints, and you put his own stamp on it, but just a fun fact. So you said he actually played quarterback for Odessa Permian, correct?
He did. He was a quarterback for Mojo, or number 25. They all have to wear 25 there. He was a quarterback at Odessa Permian, and actually, when he was a quarterback there, his offensive coordinator was a guy named Brandon Faircloth, and Brandon was the head coach when I was at PNG. Okay. So I went to PNG. Coach Carey came to PNG there at the same time too, and Coach Carey brought that offense that we ran at PNG over here, and Coach Bird ran that offense in high school and then came and worked at PNG for a few years while we were there too. So he's been running this thing for a long time, since he was 17 years old or so, and he was a really, really good quarterback in high school, and he's a really smart guy, good guy, good family. His wife is actually the nurse at Meyer.
Yes, sir.
So we're excited to get them to be a part of the community and to be able to transition and make it really not much of a transition, right? So we're running the same offense, the terminology is pretty close to the same. The run game, we're using all the same verbiage there. Pass game's changed just a little bit, but as you said, there's some fingerprints things, but trying to keep it consistent for the kids so that they don't have to learn a whole new system has been big.
I've enjoyed watching that system as a fan just because I'm an Aggie. No offense, but the SEC. But I love, and it wasn't when we made that move. I was more excited, not just for us, but just that style of ball is more physical. Mm-hmm. You guys will be joining it soon, but it just, I love it's a shotgun, but it doesn't mean it's not that 600 yards and just passing every play. It's real. It's still hard nosed football. It is.
There's still a fullback. It's still downhill power running game, but it's a lot of RPOs. I mean, you hear people talk about that run pass option things, and we just feel like. At the end of the day, when we get in on the board and, coach versus coach, right, the guy with the pen last wins. And so if we can get out on the field and we can give our kids reads and we can put the opponent, another 16, 17, 18-year-old kid out there in a bind and have that kid having to make a decision, well, that gives us an advantage. That's what gives us the pen last, in our opinion.
Cool. Awesome. And before I move on from that, just a quick... Just thoughts and prayers, rest in peace. I don't know if you heard of this, Permian Coach Gaines, Gary Gaines. He just passed this past week. If you guys sounds familiar, not sure that's the name. If you've read the book Friday Night Lights or saw the movie, he was the coach portrayed by Billy Bob Thornton, one of the all-time Texas high school coaching legends. Anyways, we lost him this past week, so thoughts and prayers for Coach Gary Gaines and his family.
Yes, sir.
Another addition to the staff, George Villa, well loved in this town, good friend. Jeff. Anyways, it's good to see him in navy and white again. Yes. You got him out of that just dingy gold, and I like maroon, but the gold and maroon's just kind of weird. But anyways, it's good to have George back in blue and white. Speak to him and Coach Bowman. They've got the work cut out a bit with one returning veteran with RG3 in the old line, but you're getting them coached up pretty well with those two guys.
Yeah, for sure. We were excited to get Coach Villa over here. He's back home, and I think he's wanted to get back home. And we're excited to have him. He's been great. He's moved from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball, which gives a good perspective.
Yes, sir.
It kind of helps some of those offensive guys look at things from a different perspective. And him and Coach Bauman have done a great job with the offensive line. As you said, RG3 he's back, and I think he's sitting out there. We'll have to go grab him here in a second.
Yes,
but other than that, we have Everett Adams. He's back but we just don't have a whole lot of experience.
Right.
And those guys have done a good job getting them to gel and communicate and play as a unit. And that was one of the biggest challenges coming into the season. And obviously, we still haven't played a full game yet. We'll find out, but they've done a great job.
Just eyeball test. Again, maybe green, but we'll get to that a little bit when we get to the little thing. But looks like a lot of bodies to work with.
Yes.
Big boys that can go.
A lot of good-looking guys out there.
Yes, sir. And before we jump into all that personnel, just your defense, just again, you made the move from the 3-4 to 3-3, just kind of your reasoning, the advantage of the system. I must say I did a pretty good job. Tom and I watched it last week against Uvalde, shutting them down, and in regulation, the no points allowed.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, so basically, I kind of view it as this is high school football, right? We don't get to recruit. So we've got to take and do the best with what we've got. And kind of what we've got is we don't have a whole lot of line bodies. We've got some big bodies that are really good, but not a lot of them. And they obviously have to play the offensive line too. So in order to give as many of them as much of a rest as possible, that's why we stuck with that odd front. And we have a lot of linebackers, a lot of returning linebackers. Diego Martinez and Leland Rodriguez and Wyatt Boss and Jesse Gutierrez. They all either saw a ton of playing time last year or a pretty good amount. So that 3-3 stack is kind of what was able that we felt like to get the most experience on the field as well as give the offensive line a rest at times. Now, it also, the way it's been structured, it's pretty easy to switch into an even front, into a 4-down. And I'm not going to give anything away, but you may or may not see that on Friday night. And it's made it a good, easy transition to kind of go back and forth, which hopefully can keep some offenses off balance a little bit.
Yes, sir. I was watching some mental notes. It's easy to, you can flow some guys up and down.
For sure.
And that's the thing, too. I mean, I think 4-3 and 3-4, like it's made of it. I mean, essentially, an outside linebacker's a rush in. It's not a whole lot different.
Right.
His hands on the ground. It's not. I think more gets blown out of it when people just listen to stuff on TV and all that. But at the same time, I guess with our guys on the opposite end, linebacker and DB, I mean, you've got a lot of good speed on this team, and those guys. There's not a whole lot of difference in body types. So those tweener linebacker / safeties. Do you have a name for that, by the way? I just following just college ball theaters. They always have like a joker or a jack. There's a name for that safety linebacker. Do you have one?
Right. Well, for us right now, we just go. It's our free safety. Really, that's the one that we'll roll down at times and play like a linebacker and then roll back. I mean, it just depends on, I guess, your terminology and who you play for.
Sounds good. Before we jump into personnel, I was going to say, so if we'll see how time goes. We're doing pretty good here.
All right.
Time. In fact, folks, if we don't get to this whole roster thing, I'm looking at the clock right now. We're going pretty well. Well, we'll see how it rolls, but I'd like to hit on Marion obviously before we part ways this evening. But let's go ahead and jump into the roster. Just how camp went. Position groups that made the biggest strides. Units. Yeah, those units that made the most ground. I guess new faces that stepped up. Kind of camp standouts, guys just basically guys who made the biggest strides. And if you want to hit by position, that might be the easiest way to kind of do it.
All right, I'll start off. Offensively, we've already talked about the offensive line a little bit.
Right.
They're big bodies. They've done a really good job, and they're ahead of the learning curve right now, and that's good. That was a little bit of a concern, and that's again credit to awesome. Coach V and Coach Bauman both. But Gordo Lopez and we've got RG3 and Everett Adams and William Rohde came out this year. I can keep naming some names, but they've all done a great job. And unfortunately, they don't necessarily always get credit, right? Unless there's holding or
right.
False starts.
Right.
But they know, and we've talked that our season's going to go how they go. Is the bottom line.
Yeah, that's my note right here. I want to get to that O line. I have it circled red, the key to it all. I mean, we got a lot of skills guys, but those guys have to gel.
We'll talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's good. I appreciate it. Yeah. Please give them shout outs on the radio definitely. For sure. But no, they have done a really good job. I'm trying to think here. Who else? Cooper Molitor's done really well. Really, all of them. That we are confident in being able to throw any one of them in at any time, and that's big. That's an advantage for sure. We'll go back, I guess. At our H back, which is like a fullback, kind of it's really a hybrid back. Plays fullback. They play out. They'll get out at receiver. They'll play tight end. Diego Martinez, Leland Rodriguez, Jojo Arredondo, Joe Adrian Valenzuela, all those guys. Again, we have a bunch of them, and it's good, and we can rotate those guys through, and we're confident in every single one of them. Quarterback, obviously, we Caden English graduated last year, so we've been looking for a quarterback, and both Ryan Gillum and DJ Richter had great camps, and they were both having a great scrimmage, and unfortunately Ryan had a little bit of an injury, so it's not season ending. He'll be back, but they both did a really good job.
Yeah, he was having a good show, and you could tell he was really going for it. You had a feel for him in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. And the DJ's he's going to be the man this week, and we're confident in him. He's had a great week of practice, and he understands the offense as well. So we're confident in both of those guys too. At running back, we have a stable of them, and we have Carson Winchester is back, Wyatt Boss. Let me think here. We moved up Michael Arredondo, Carlos Arcos as well, and all those guys run the ball well. All of them kind of bring a little bit different something to the table, and you may have noticed as well. Some of those guys play linebacker too, right? So they block really well. Again, really good chance you're going to see 3+ running backs this Friday and on into the season. When you got that much talent,
right.
Get them out there
yes,
and be deceptive. So we're pretty excited about that option. That's not something you always have, so we're excited to do that.
Yeah, they're gonna have a little pressure off that this year because wide receiver a bit thin last year as far as production, and
right.
it's night and day. Just watching, it was obvious the first scrimmage, the second scrimmage. There's a lot of kids. Having a couple kids come back to the program, Hasso and Bentley, but just seeing a few.
Right.
I'm very encouraged, and that's got to. I mean, do you have a number for what did Winchester have last year? Because it's hard when you got the whole defense thing. You're not keeping them honest. They know you're.
Oh, are you saying yardage wise? He ended up passing 1,000 yards. I believe it was right there at Rockport game. I think so. Right.
I thought I heard that. That's impressive given that fact.
Given the gap,
you're one-dimensional
without a doubt. And now like you said, now it's an advantage when we have Martavius Patterson and Brandon Hasso's come out, Braden Bendeley. Those guys. Not only are they good receivers, but they're tall. They bring size, and you put those guys out wide, and you gotta go worry about them. And of course in the slot, Jacob Bailey has done a great job for us. He's here tonight. You'll probably talk to him here in a minute, but he's done a great job too. He plays what we call our Z, our slot receiver. And we've had some other guys come out in the last year or so too, like Caden Alvarez and Diego Ortuarte. They play that Z too, and they go in and they've done a great job. Like that. We have had right now. We have a decent amount of depth at some spots, and that's an advantage to be able to rotate guys through there. And you always hope and pray that you stay healthy all season.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Do I need to switch defensively? You want me to go?
No, it's okay. Before you go there, because you mentioned a few names, and this is what I love, man, about football. And I followed the college game so close the last couple of years, but it's the same thing, even more so in high school. But just watching kids come along, and but even at the college level, as good as those guys are, I mean, once you get about mid-October, late October, freshmen playing like sophomores are playing like juniors because they're not thinking, they're getting the can just play. Right. It's a beautiful thing. Martavius is a cool story. I remember watching him back in 8th grade. My daughter. And long story short, with the homeschool thing, she came back in school in 8th grade, and she wants to start going to games. Usually I'm not going to 8th grade games, to be honest, but I started going, and it's pretty good. And his story wasn't like if your heart's not, if your football's not your passion, it's a tough game.
Right, no doubt.
And so I get it. Like I said, you guys, the staff that came afterwards, did a good job of getting him in the boat. And just watching him just slowly embrace the game. And we talked just the first little meeting we had in early July, or early August, and it was just we both lit up because you knew where I was going. And last year, I think it was a kickoff against Bandera. Ran it up the left side, our sideline, up 37, 38, pretty cool. But it wasn't just the good return; it's just how he finished. He was getting physical, aggressive, just threw a beautiful forearm or stiff arm. I was like, all right, this kid, he's starting to embrace football. It was just, I was getting chills. Oh, cool. I love that stuff. Seeing that light bulb come on instead.
There's a lot to be said about confidence,
yes,
for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's really come along. It's been exciting to watch him. And as you said, kind of at the beginning, you were not real sure, and then as that season went on, got more and more confident. A lot of it happened on kickoff returns. He house partied one, and just to see him do that, and he knows he's capable of it. He's gotten physical. He's even playing. He's been playing a lot of corner for us too. You've probably seen, which is encouraging. And he's not scared to tackle. And I'm excited to watch him this year. I really am.
Yeah, that first scrimmage, I was sitting with Tom sitting next to me. By the way, if you guys obviously you can't see, but they had a double angle, and he just shot it right between it. He just outran a double angle.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
That's impressive.
That's stuff. That's stuff you can't teach. So when those guys come along, it's obviously helpful. And you'd mentioned, we talked before, it's nice having not just capable receivers. Paso made some great plays coming back at the ball. And again, for a guy that's been out of the game, that was impressive, just having that back. Some guys have that, some guys just run the route. Some guys know, hey, I got to get to that ball.
And I think going up for rebounds helps too. You get used to body control and boxing people out and things like that. And you've seen him do that, again, offensively and defensively, both. Like he's really good at going up against the ball. Yeah, I'm glad you said that's a perfect segue. Just those guys with the basketball skills. You mentioned them a second ago in the same context. With Martavius and Bentley both out there, with Bentley coming back, that's two big bodies and go up, high point a ball, again, those basketball skills, high point a ball in the end zone. That's huge in the red zone, especially you got the mismatch of those little 5'9" corners, which is common. We're South Texas, it's what it is. So, that's true. That's a big advantage for sure.
So, if you want to switch to your baby defense.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's pretty much the same names, right?
Of
but,
course.
Defensive line, like I said, we're odd front for the most part. So we play with two ends and a nose, and again, we've had we feel like there's any of those guys can go in and play, and it's the same guys I just mentioned at offensive line, right? They can go in and play at pretty much any of those spots, and that's a great advantage to be able to just rotate them through, keep them fresh, and that's what we're working on. We're trying to do. It's still a little bit of a work in progress, learning just really what kind of condition guys are in and what they can and can't do. Typically, our nose guards are bigger bodies, right? Because they're inside, and our ends are a little bit thinner. The other night, we looked up and we had 3 nose guards in because all of our ends were tired.
Oh, wow.
But they knew what to do, and that's big. And then I can change and call defense just a hair, based off of that to keep those guys inside. But backing up a little bit, we already talked about Diego Martinez and Leland Rodriguez and Wyatt Boss, and you know, between those three guys, that accounts for 40% of our defensive production last year as far as tackles go. And that's huge.
Yes.
I mean, you return 40% of that, and it's only amongst three guys. That's really big. So, and obviously Leland is our Mike backer. He's like the quarterback of the defense, and
He's a duck in water out there. He's got a nose for the ball.
oh yeah, he has a nose for the football. He understands the defense inside and out.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes he corrects me. Like, goes, didn't you mean? Like, yeah, okay, yeah, yes, that's what I meant. It's
Tremendous.
awesome. It's a huge advantage to have it. And Leland's been on the varsity since he was a freshman, and that's a big part of it. You know, and Jesse Gutierrez, he did not see a ton of playing time last year. Just as the season went on, he got more and more and more and got more confident, kind of like you were talking about with Martavius. And now, I mean, he is flying around and running the ball. He picked up right where he left off at the end of the season, and that's encouraging. And Carson Winchester, he's playing some linebacker as well. And we have a young guy, Jerry Guevara, who he was kind of a move up late in the season last year too, who can go in and spell us in any one of those spots. Which is great because, again, a lot of those names I just named, they play running back and they play H-back, and you know, they need a break sometimes. And I hadn't even talked about special teams, right? You still got to kick off return and everything. So it's really an advantage to be able to do that. So we're hoping to keep guys fresh. That's always a goal during the game, to make it to the fourth quarter with guys with their legs under them as much as possible. But moving on back, I guess a little bit. Our safeties, Jacob Bailey. And we have Corbin Moore. Corbin was a move-in last year. He's really come along really well in the last year or two, kind of learning our system and learning what we do. And we had DJ Richter and Ryan Gillum. They were both playing that free safety that you were talking about earlier. So now we've kind of had to make some moves around. And actually this week you're going to see a freshman out there. Mason Barr is going to. He's moved up and he'll see some playing time on defense too. And he's had a great week of practice. He's a great athlete. Just kind of got to learn a little bit more complicated system than what he's learned. But we tried to keep it simple, right? As much as we could. And who's really come along, you know, again, you talk about confidence, right? It's Preston Coronado. Preston, he was the young guy last year, right? And he was the one that, I mean, honestly, he's not real tall. He has great athleticism, but at times he got picked on, and he has responded unbelievably. He has studied film. He stepped up as a leader. Typically we don't ask corners to make calls and checks and stuff, but he can do it, and so he'll do it. And we've put that on him too. It's been awesome.
That's tremendous.
He has been absolutely amazing. He spent a lot of the offseason studying the game, and he would always ask questions and come back and, Coach, I was watching this game last night, and what about this and that? And that was like April. You know, that's impressive. It's always been on his mind. So, and then corner-wise, otherwise, you know, we've already talked about Martavius and Brandon, and both of those they're learning defense a little bit, but they've been very physical, which has been encouraging. You don't necessarily always get that from the guys that play those outside receivers, but they have been, and they've done a really good job. And what else we've got, you know, and Caden Alvarez and Diego Tuarte as well. Like they've done a really good job at corner too, and we can throw those guys out there at any moment. So again, we have some depth, and that's encouraging, and it's for us it's a challenge to make sure that we use that depth when it needs to be used. And, you know, the guys have fresh legs in the fourth quarter.
Right. And that's I like seeing that. Just the way a lot of guys go on Ironman, go on both sides, and that was always the way it was when I was in this town. I went away and I came back, and this is previous coaching staff. And this is kind of weird. Our talent pool is, you know, we're just only so deep. You can't not play these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You're protecting from injuries and stuff. At a certain point, I mean, you gotta be effective out there. So. Very encouraging seeing that. I know the way you're platooning them out. It's nice that you have enough depth in those spots. You've got a lot of big boys in the D line, and
for sure, yeah.
A lot of speed on this team. I mean,
there is.
There's size. It's kind of cool.
A lot of our skill guys, you know, as you said it and we said before, a lot of the skill guys are back. So that's good, and they understand the offense. They understand the defense, and that's awesome. And our offensive and defensive line are both very athletic, very physical, and they're learning fast, and maybe faster than what we thought. So. We're excited. We'll see what happens on Friday, but we're pretty excited.
So that'll be the litmus test. I was getting this one minutia thing, flipping back over to O-line. had the fortune a couple years ago, Coach Sherman was coaching A&M. I got to know it was a similar show, but it was like the A&M thing, the coach's show. But I would always pepper him. I was always my O-line, like, where's our O-line? Because we were not. But he actually invited me out to practice. I would just sit in camp and watch Coach Turner a lot of years in the NFL. But just how even his 5-star tackles, he cross-trained everybody. I was just curious how you guys, did they get lots of work at pretty much every spot? I know center's a little different because it's more cerebral.
Center is a little bit different, but yeah, the centers they get a little bit of work at guard.
Right.
The guards will mostly play guard, but a little bit of tackle, and then kind of vice versa. But for the most part, the centers and guards are somewhat interchangeable. But we try to keep the tackles at tackle. There's one or two that we'll let go in there and play a little bit of guard, so just in case, and they know what to do.
I'm guessing that was just the purpose, just so they're comfy when they get just start to a spot, so
Right.
goes down.
Well, and probably at the same time too, the more you know about somebody else's position, the more you're going to understand about yours, and that particular play and why you're doing what you're doing, because they're doing what they're doing.
Well, that's a lot. Anything else in general, I guess, just as far as standouts, maybe guys we might not have mentioned running through that?
Well, the
before we
only
get
one
to
I haven't
Marion.
really mentioned, and standout wise, is our kicker, right, Roberto Renteria.
Yes.
Man, he is a weapon.
My apologies. Yes.
No,
that's yours.
yeah, he's great kickoff wise. He can put it pretty much where he wants to. He's a big time weapon when it comes to field goals and stuff. It takes some pressure off the offense and things on how much yards we've got to gain.
Could you give some fans some background on him? It's a very unique story, just in case. And a lot of people are aware it's Hondo, word gets out, but it's a neat backstory. Just extremely fortuitous that we got him on this squad.
Well, he's been a soccer kid
Right.
most of his life, right? And he played soccer in San Antonio for a club league, and we were starting our soccer program last year, and he was coming out to play soccer, and we knew he was coming, and we needed a kicker, and so we may have somewhat begged, and he agreed, but he had to learn a little bit of how to kick that oblong ball as opposed to the round one, but once he learned, man, he's done really good. He's even been punting this year.
Wow.
And today, actually, we told him, hey, if this happens, punt the ball out of bounds or as close to out of bounds as you can. And his next punt, I'm not kidding you, hit 2 inches in bounds and bounced out of bounds. And so, he claims it was on purpose. I don't know if it really was or not, but he's a really good kicker. He's a big-time weapon.
Yes, sir. I want to move on to Marion, kind of hit them, basic scouting report on those guys. Anybody else we might have missed, just running through all that. I know, we talked
Man, I
before,
hope
and again,
not.
it was a shame, and hopefully he can get back soon. But with Rhino going down again, hopefully just shortly. But I mean, that's 2 guys, and can you talk to their skill sets, just because they're pretty parallel? Are they not? I mean, arm, legs, they're both smart kids.
They're both. They're very similar,
Right.
without a doubt. Just one of them's a junior and one of them's a sophomore. They both
Right.
have great speed,
Right.
great athleticism. They both have a great arm. They're very smart. They've got a good head on their shoulders. Neither one of them are perfect, obviously, right? And I don't think any quarterback or anybody is, right? There's something, they both have a few little things that they need to work on as far as their reads and things go, and just managing the offense. But they're very close to the same person, to the same quarterback. There's not a ton of difference. So we're wishing Ryan the best and hoping that he comes back soon. And when he comes back, we'll be kind of right back where we were.
Yes,
and
sir.
Whoever's performing is performing at the time.
Yes, sir. Right. Scanning my notes real fast. All right, Marion. Well, that's like you said, we've talked. We know what we've got.
Right.
Yeah, fans at home, by the way, you're getting a lot of red meat tonight, so I hope you appreciate this, taking notes, because it's going to be, it's going to be, I'm excited for this group. But Marion, the first time we get the strap-on pads and finally hit someone with a different color on, that's always...
Right, no doubt. Yeah, play four full quarters
Yes.
to get somebody all alive. Marion, they're a good program. They have a really good program over there. They, I'll talk about their offense, I guess, at first, but they lost their quarterback, but the guy they've got was the backup quarterback last year. He's a big kid. He has a great arm, and he can sling it. They asked him to make some throws that are some pretty darn impressive throws. Their running back, he returns from last year. Their offensive line mostly returns intact. They've lost their guards, and they play with a tight end some. They play with an H back like we do some as well. Sometimes we play with a tight end and an H. A lot of different personnel groupings. They have a receiver, number 4, he's back from last year as well. He played slot receiver like our Z, but he's a really good player. And they've got 2 big, tall receivers out at what we would call the X and A, like the Martavius and the Braden and Brandon Hosso, where those guys line up. So honestly, pretty darn similar to us offensively. They run a few different plays, of course, but pretty close to the same. And defensively, they're big up front. They're an even front. They're 4 down. They're 4-2 to 4-3. They have a linebacker, number 7, who was the district defensive MVP last year, and he's back. He plays fullback and some tight end too, but he's a really good player. Their safeties are very athletic and physical. Their corners are physical as well. They're a really good squad. Last year, unfortunately, we had the game in hand going into the fourth quarter, or as the third quarter was ticking down, and we ended up giving it away. And don't think that hasn't that has not set well with me. I'll say that for the last year. So I'm hoping to get back and get some vengeance this year. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to going over there and playing them again.
Very good. Our kids, where their heads at. I know again that's one thing for us to say it as fans, but they got to be itching to hit somebody, get out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's been it's been a weird week. It doesn't want to rain for 3 months, and we hit football season, and all of a sudden it wants to rain for 3 straight days. So Monday we were outside for 20-30 minutes, and then we had to go finish off in the gym. And but thank God, pretty much since then we've been good. We've been able to go out and been able to practice, and so I think maybe even being in the gym for a day kind of fueled that fire and that hunger a little bit too.
Right.
But the guys are excited. They're excited to go play an opponent, go play for 4 quarters, and go play with something on the line this week. Mm-hmm.
I guess away from the physical attributes, just what are you I guess most impressed with these kids over the past couple weeks? You mentioned Preston coming off how he embraced that. He's a good kid. I met him before, and shortly after that it happened, and I was like, hey man, the fact that you were on the squad as a sophomore is awesome. You're ahead of the curve.
Right.
It was even cooler when we met this summer. He kind of gave he's been hitting all off season, so I love how he's tackled up. But just in general, the kid just mentally,
yeah.
What you're proud of, and what we got some.
I think I'll tell you this. Let's kind of maybe go back for a second. One of the things we always talk about is next play. What's the most important play, and the kids are going to say the next play. We always talk about, this play is what matters in this moment right now. You can't let the last play affect you, whether it's positive or negative. It doesn't matter. And of course, we tie that in same way in life, right? But last week, obviously, at the end of the second quarter, unfortunately we fumbled the ball. They scooped it, scored it to end that half.
Right.
And then we go and we move the ball up and down the field on them all night.
Right.
And we'd stalled out a couple of times, but then we play that overtime period, and we sputtered a little bit on offense. We go to defense, they score in 2 plays, and it was really just, in my opinion, a result of a hangover, and something bad happened just right before the end of regulation, which provided a great teaching moment.
Yes.
The guys, we always talk about not letting the last play affect the next one, and we let it affect the next several plays.
Right.
So hopefully we learn that in the scrimmage. It's nice to have teachable moments then and not later on.
For sure.
But I really think where our headspace is right now is next play. What today's over with, what's happening tomorrow, and then when we get out tomorrow, what's this play? We're going to execute on this play, and that's been the emphasis all week.
All right, thank you, Coach. Well, I'm going to hit up our sponsors real quick. I'm going to do a little recap and let you have last say before we head on out of here. Again, hope you people out there enjoying it. Again, Medina Electric Co-op, powering members, empowering community. SAT Learning Center, daycare center for children, infant to 10 years. Reserve your child's spot today. Mummies, your wildlife headquarters. Downtown Dental, hometown dentist Stacy Jacobs. Many Hondo Owls and many families, they'd love to see your smiling faces. C&W Fuels Inc., your local fuel and propane distributor. Hondo Elbow Herald, stay up to date each week with the award-winning Hondo Elbow Herald, Medina County's newspaper since 1886. Medina County Regional Hospital, providing quality care close to home. Reese Grain, local grain elevator, providing bulk and sack feed. Wishes all the Owls the best of luck this season. Texan Bank, team up together with Texan Bank. Cross Connections, Radio Shack. Go see Michelle and Stacy for all your electronic or cell phone needs. Finally, Herman Son Steakhouse. 75 plus years, all of that family owned. All right, Coach has got some young gentlemen here to further elaborate on this squad. Who's got the mic? Who's first?
All right, I'm going to hand it off here to Jacob Bailey first.
Good evening, Jacob. How you doing?
Good.
I was just telling Coach, it's been great watching you guys, y'all's progress since last year. You know, wide receiver, the passing game last year, you guys struggled a little bit, but I was watching you the other night. You guys, all of you guys have come along a long ways. Can you speak to your just the wide receiver squad in general, and you know, compare yourselves a year ago and just how the strides you've made, different guys who've come in, your own progress, whatever you want to talk about. It's on you.
Yeah, I think we've done a whole lot better than last year.
Yes, sir.
We got new guys. Now I'm not talking bad about any of the old players, but I think we got some kids who can catch this year. I'm really excited about that. Yes, sir.
You've done a good job. I watched the other night. All of you guys have progressed. Again, I think of all the units and coach, just to speak to what units is the biggest progress, I would have to have these guys. Would you agree, Coach?
What's that?
Wide receiver as far as units progress.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they've really taken for heart. You know, I take that. Yeah, probably. Yes, definitely the receivers probably with the biggest progress. They've taken it to heart as far as catching the ball and getting extra yards after the catch and things. And we kind of count catches in a row during practice. And if somebody drops the ball, they immediately start doing push-ups and everything. But definitely the most improved unit for the year. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything else, Jacob? Just in the team in general, what you've seen the challenge, it's all the newness, new district, new coach, all that. How do you guys approach things?
We've worked really hard this off season, and I'm really excited for this year.
Awesome.
What class are you in, Jacob?
I'm a senior.
All right, we're looking forward to you guys wrapping it up. All right, who we got here?
I'm White Boss.
Wide boss. All right, I knew. I'm
You gotta
working
say
on
it
the
so
arms.
people
And,
know.
I'm working on
Yeah.
the physique. I'm not there yet. I'm a 45. I'm gonna grow up to be Wyatt Boss one day. I saw you in the. I was like, "Who is that kid?" He's you look the part, man. So you looking forward to get some more reps running back this year?
Yeah. I'm happy with Carson running that ball all night, though. I'm happy on defense.
What's your favorite spot to play?
Definitely linebacker. I love the feeling of getting back there and just absolutely annihilating somebody.
Beautiful. Are you liking this new system?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Mm-hmm. It's definitely.
What's your favorite part of it, as far as just, or what biggest difference would you say, or
Well-
is it very noticeable for you where you're at?
We went from a
Going from a 3-4
3-4,
outside backer
yeah.
to being a stack backer.
we went to stack. And then this week is different. We have a technique called 5. I'm basically a defensive end this week.
Right.
But, yeah.
Cool. What's your biggest progress individually? What do you think the biggest gains you made as a player this off season going into now?
Oh.
Sorry, that's a tough question. I didn't give you much time to reflect.
Well, I stripped the ball a couple weeks ago, and I didn't spike it when I got the touchdown.
There you go.
Say that.
Yeah, it's an emotional game, man. It's hard to rein in sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, again, it's been cool watching you guys progress. I appreciate y'all coming in.
What class you in?
Oh, I'm a senior, so.
Senior.
I've seen it another
Say your name and say what grade.
class of 23.
My name is Robert Gonzalez III, also known as RG3.
Yes, sir. All right, I got to talk to you, man.
I am a senior too.
Another
Yeah,
senior,
three
another
seniors.
class of 23. By the way, welcome. Thank you guys all for coming in, taking y'all's time and hanging out up here, waiting for us to help us out with this broadcast. So yeah, I was really wanting to talk to you a lot as well, just because your unit, you guys lost a lot of. It's funny saying veterans. You guys are 17, 18 years old, but yeah, lost a lot of seniors, and so you're basically the lone guy coming back. Everett as well, little got some reps, but you're kind of the anchor as far as experience wise.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to kind of, I guess, the reload and how it's looked through your eyes, seeing who's come along, maybe a couple weeks ago, and guys have really stepped it up?
I seen ever since our class, when we were juniors, I seen we finally realized that it's our last year, and we needed to step it up, because I know I want to take our whole team to state, and I know in their eyes they want to go out with a bang. So I know this year, during summer, after school ended, we had a week off. The day we came back, I know we kicked it real hard, and we're hitting real hard right now. And I think we have a really good shot at hitting state this year.
That's beautiful. I see your passion. You're all in senior year. It's now or never. Get it done. Enjoy it. Well, I appreciate you boys coming up here, all the work you put in. I mean, football is it's a different thing to people that aren't, don't understand, but just the work you guys put in day on, not just day in, day out now, but just the whole off season. It doesn't stop, especially, like I said, I can see the passion in you guys' eyes, the way when you want it, you're working, and it's not just a couple months of the year thing. Anyways, God bless you guys. Wish you all the best on Friday night. Anything else y'all want to add about the off season or camp?
It was inscribed to us that we had a target on our back. All spring. All spring, we had Coach Temple was telling us we have a target on our back, so we got to kick it pretty hard this year.
You're from Hondo. What do you expect? You're gonna,
Yep, that's very true.
Was that the primary message, Coach? And guys, what was your primary kind of motto?
Well,
It was always a motto.
we talk about the target on the back, number one, because we're Hondo, right? And everybody wants to be Hondo. But the other thing, we talk about dropping down from 4A to 3A. Everyone is going to want to beat, quote, that team, that 4A team, or that team that thinks that they're better than us or whatever. And I've already heard of a couple of schools that may or may not have us as their homecoming. Some other radio shows that have gone on, and maybe no other schools were mentioned except for Hondo. I won't call anybody out over the radio on that kind of thing, but it's true. It is definitely true, and that's part of living in Hondo for sure. And I think it's going to be even more a thing this year.
All right. Thank you guys all. Any last parting thoughts, Coach? We've covered a lot in
No, I appreciate you having me. I know these guys
Hey,
are
Jeff, let me.
men of few words, but they definitely perform on the field. Go ahead. You want to go?
Yeah.
got Tom Graff here as well.
Yeah. Of course, I'll be the other half of the broadcast team. I broadcast for 25 years with Bobby Enzi, so I got a new partner. So I want to welcome Jeff Jennings to Hondo Owl football. First of all,
Thank you, Tom.
and Jeff, you did a great job tonight. Coach Templin, likewise, I'd like to
Thank
welcome you to Hondo Owl football as the head coach and
Thank you.
the broadcast and young men. You got high hopes behind you. We're looking for that gold ball, aren't we, Coach?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, thank you, Jeff.
I appreciate that,
See
Tom.
ya.
Thank you very much, man. Yes, sir. Well, that'll just about do it. Thanks again, Coach. I'm excited. This is my Christmas, guys. Football is I live for it. I love it, and this whole thing has been it's been cool. And again, a lot of newness going on. I wish you guys all the best of luck. Fans, thank you all for tuning in. If you like what you heard, tell your friends, share the link, spread the word. As you can tell, Coach and I love this game. We could talk it all night if we didn't have day jobs. So we got to get on out of here. See y'all Friday night in Marion. Tune in next Wednesday as we serve up some more red meat to you guys. And Owl Football Nation. Y'all have a great night.